Hello everybody, I've been doing a lot in the garden, well, Connor has, and I'd like to read this story for Connor. He's not a little boy anymore and he's definitely not an old man, but this is for him and it's the Enormous Turnip. It just made me think of him, and the illustrations in it by Peter Stevenson are absolutely amazing, so I'll show you some of those as we read along. So, are you ready? One sunny morning, a man decided to plant some turnip seeds. He fetched a fork from the shed, dug a patch in his vegetable garden. It was all hard work. He made sure there were no big stones or any weeds. Then he carefully sprinkled the tiny turnip seeds. That's him there. So, the man took great care of his turnip seeds. Every day, as soon as he woke up, he went down the garden to give them some water. In only a few days, the little green leaves started to appear. These are going to be fine turnips, said the man to himself. Not like Connor, but every morning he has been going to water his plants. Particularly his rhubarb plant he's quite fond of at the minute. So, the turnips grew very quickly, as turnips do. But one turnip grew faster than all the rest. Soon it was twice as big as the other turnips. The man was astonished. I can almost see it growing, he said so proudly. But the turnip didn't stop. It grew bigger and bigger and bigger until it was enormous. One day, the man decided that it was time to pull up the enormous turnip. We can have it for our dinner, he said to his wife. I'm sure it tastes as good as it looks. So the man took hold of the turnip's huge leaves with both hands, and he pulled, and he pulled, and he pulled with all his might. But he could not pull up the enormous turnip. The man called his wife. I'm going to need some help with this turnip, he laughed. So the man pulled the turnip, and the woman pulled the man, and they pulled with all their might. But they couldn't pull up the enormous turnip. The woman called to a little boy. Can you come and help us with this turnip? So the man pulled the turnip, and the woman pulled the man, and the little boy pulled the woman. But they pulled with all their might, but they couldn't pull up the enormous turnip. You know that? So, a little girl was walking past. Please come and help us with the enormous turnip, called the little boy. So, the man pulled the turnip, the woman pulled the man, the little boy pulled the woman, and the little girl pulled the little boy. And they pulled with all their might, but they couldn't pull up the enormous turnip. It is enormous, isn't it? Look at it, compared to the size of the shed. Oof. So, the little girl called to her dog. Here, boy, come and help us. So, the man pulled the turnip, the woman pulled the man, the little boy pulled the woman, the little girl pulled the boy, and the dog pulled the girl. But they still couldn't pull the enormous turnip up. All in a line up there. The dog saw a large orange cat walking along the fence. Woof, he said, come and help us. So, let's get this right. The man pulled the turnip. The woman pulled the man. The little boy pulled the woman. And the little girl pulled the little boy. The dog pulled the little girl, and the cat was pulling the dog. and they still couldn't pull up that enormous turnip. Oh, there's the cat joining them there. So, let's have a look. The cat spied a little mouse sitting under a cabbage leaf. Meow, she called. Come and help us. So, the man pulled the enormous turnip. The woman was pulling the man. The little boy was pulling the woman. The little girl was pulling the little boy. The dog was pulling the little girl. The cat was pulling the dog. And the mouse pulled the cat. They pulled and pulled and pulled with all their might. Look at them. Oh. Don't stop, panted the man. I think, yes. We've done it. And at that, the turnip came flying out of the ground. The cat fell on top of the little mouse, and the dog fell on top of the cat, and the little girl fell on top of the dog, and the little boy fell on top of the little girl, and the man fell on top of the woman. And what fell on top of the man? The most enormous turnip anyone had ever seen. Let's look at them all tumbling. When everyone has finished laughing, they all picked themselves up. You must stay to dinner, said the man and the woman, and we can all have a delicious turnip. And the turnip, you know, was delicious. It was so enormous that they were still eating it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Turnip stew and everything. I had turnip for my dinner yesterday. Part of my dinner. It was absolutely delicious. I love turnip. I love all kinds of vegetables. So, I hope you've enjoyed this story. And I hope you've enjoyed it so much that you want to go out into the garden. And maybe we might take some pictures of my garden and put it under the video down below so you can see what we've been up to. Well, mainly Connor. So this is why it's stories for him. So that's been the enormous turnip.